How many people do you know who struggle with their health? Chances are, whether they show it or not, most of the people in your life do. And chances are, you're one of them. Whether you're dealing with anxiety, depression, endometriosis, acne, eczema, autoimmune, thyroid, Lyme, brain fog, fatigue, or any other symptom or condition, you're far from alone. Living with symptoms has become the new normal. So no more guessing games. It's time to get answers. Welcome to the Medical Medium Podcast. I'm Anthony William. Today we're talking about black tongue. So many people develop it. So many people live with it. The doctors have no answers. No one understands it. It's a complete mystery, but yet we have to deal with it every day. People wake up in the morning and they see it. It doesn't scrub off. It doesn't wash off. There's no answer for it. And it's totally perplexing. Waking up. Huh? What's on my tongue? Why does it look like that? I've heard it over and over again from people for years. What is going on? I have a black tongue. I've seen people look for my help throughout the years because they have a black tongue. I've seen people develop a black tongue everywhere, anyhow, anyway. It just happens. Sometimes it can be dark brown. Sometimes it can start out dark gray. Sometimes it could be just jet black. Sometimes just partially on the tongue in the middle. Sometimes the entire tongue is just black, a streak. Is there an answer out there? Is it called something? No, it's not. It's just totally ignored by the industries, both conventional and alternative. It's a complete and total mystery to any practitioner, to any doctor, to any health authority. Thank you, doctor, for seeing me. Yeah, it's right there. You see, I'm sticking my tongue out and it's got a black spot on there. It grew and it's much bigger. I haven't had anybody help me. Okay. Yep. See here, this is interesting. Let me look here. Tongue depressor. Yes, I haven't seen that before. You sure you haven't been eating any candy? Many people are asked this question. What have you been sucking on? Are you using any lozenges? Are you eating any candies? Are you a smoker? How much coffee do you drink? The first thing that comes to every practitioner's mind, every doctor's mind, is what's staining your tongue. And then the patient is always like, well, I thought about that too. I haven't been eating anything weird. I haven't been sucking on anything. I haven't been taking anything. I don't know what's causing this. I've tried to scrub it off. I've rinsed my mouth with water. I've gone a whole day without eating. I don't know why this is here. So when that's all settled, where the practitioner or the doctor believes it and the patient explain themselves, then it's on to the next question. How long have you had this? Have you ever had it before? Let's do some blood work. Let's do a urine test. Let's see if we can find something. Nowadays, almost every doctor believes that all your problems reside in your gut, that every symptom or condition stems from your gut. So they prescribe a whole bunch of different microbiome products, pills, powders, liquids, everything under the sun, and they send a battery of this down the gut, trying to fix your black tongue or tongue discoloration. Especially probiotics. It's the first go-to. Anyone with any kind of tongue discoloration, anybody with a black tongue goes to an alternative doctor, they're going to get probiotics, a whole barrage of them. Days later, after taking the supplements and the probiotics and the gut powders, weeks later, after taking everything, the problem's still there. Could even be worse. It's territory of guessing games. It's the open plains. This is where there's no answer. They're just throwing darts at the side of a barn. They're hoping something sticks. They're hoping they can just get a little bit of relief for the patient or the client. But the reality is, if the black tongue is going to start to dissipate, it's going to dissipate anyway. If the black tongue is going to get worse, it's going to get worse anyway. It's going to do what it's going to do, and there's a reason for it. And then the eating guessing games start. What to eat, what not to eat. Is a food causing it? Or multiple foods causing it? Do I need allergy testing? Do I need to do food allergy scans? Do I need an IgG profile? Black tongue or tongue discoloration can be so disturbing for some people, they will scrub their tongue to death. They'll purchase different tongue tools. They'll scrub it with a scrubber. They'll scrub it with a toothbrush. They will rip it to shreds. I've seen people out there practically destroy their tongue because of this. They take some kind of brush or a hard bristle brush and they're scrubbing it so hard thinking it's fixing it. And now they just instead have an inflamed, irritated, injured tongue on top of the discoloration. Some people even scrub their mouth with soap. They scrub their tongue with soap. They take soap and they put it on the black spot on their tongue and they rub it on there and rub it on there and then swish around water and spit it out. But it doesn't work. It never does. And it never fixes it. Anyone experiencing this has to learn to live with it. It doesn't go away unless it goes away on its own. It'll come and go. Someone might see it go away for years and then show up again. Someone might see it come and go for weeks, months, and then stay permanently. Now, this can happen with a lot of different tongue discolorations, but right now we're mainly focused on when it gets dark gray or even black. Every single human being on planet Earth has toxic heavy metals inside of them. Everybody has metals in their brain. Everybody has metals in their liver, their spleen, their pancreas, their intestinal tract lining, their bones, their eyeballs. They have them everywhere. Some people have more toxic heavy metals. Some people have less toxic heavy metals. Do you see where I'm going here? Toxic heavy metals. Yes, toxic heavy metals are behind the tongue discoloration when it's dark gray or black. But that doesn't determine everything. That doesn't determine if someone's going to get a black tongue or not. Someone could have more toxic heavy metals than someone else and not get a black tongue. Someone can have a less toxic heavy metals but get the darkest, blackest tongue. If someone has a black tongue or a dark gray tongue, and there's no reason behind it, there's nothing that stained it, it just appeared, then they're dealing with a toxic heavy metal problem. A big part of black tongue is what is the metal doing? What is the toxic heavy metal actually doing? What is the mercury doing? What is other toxic heavy metals doing? What's happening inside the body? There's different situations, different things happening in someone's body to create a dark gray or black tongue. So let's cover some of the different scenarios of why people get a discolored black tongue or gray tongue. First scenario, someone who doesn't change their diet. They don't change anything at all. They've been living like they've been living all their life, doing all the same stuff, eating and drinking all the same things, not trying to improve their health. They're not trying to do anything for their health at all. They don't care about natural health. They just want to live their life, eat what they want, and they develop a black tongue. This is overflow. This is when the body is finally at its tipping point. Toxic heavy metals that have oxidized over the years, that have been hidden away deep in pockets inside the liver and other places in the body, decide to spill over. What this is a spill. You may be asking yourself right now, what's a spill? What is that? It's a medical medium term. It's when tissue in the body or an organ decides to dump its storage because there was a massive overflow occurring because the storage banks were filled, the pocket expanded, the tissue expanded, and then it all broke free and became a spill. And being that the person was already toxic and they're not taking care of themselves and their liver's congested, their lymphatic system's congested, their bloodstream is thick and dehydrated, it's got nowhere to go. So it ends up coming up. It can come up the bile duct. It can come out of the gallbladder. It can go up the duodenum, up the stomach, up the esophagus. It can go up the lymphatic system vessels into the neck area, the throat area. It can harbor itself in different pockets of the bloodstream where it actually eddies and pulls. And it can find its way to the tongue. Now, in this situation, this doesn't mean the person is detoxing toxic heavy metals. That's not what this is. This is a spill of oxidative runoff. So what happened in the body, there were pockets of toxic heavy metals in tissue and in organs that oxidized rapidly and built up and couldn't be held back anymore by the tissue and the organs. And finally, it just exploded out, pussed out, and overflowed. It was a spill. Now, over time, if this person in this scenario does nothing at all for their health, they just live with it. They go to the doctor doesn't know why it's happening, and they just live with it until it dissipates. It can go away until another toxic waste area in the tissue or the organs do another spill. Now, another scenario of a person going through a black tongue or gray tongue is they actually never had a black tongue or gray tongue, but they start to take care of themselves. They clean up their diet. They eat better. They're exercising. They're hydrating more. They're avoiding greasy fried food. And then one day they wake up and they got a dark tongue. Now, the reason for this, it's a self-induced spill. Pockets inside the liver, pockets inside tissue throughout the body, built up throughout the years, and then a self-induction occurred. You're exercising, you're hydrating more, you're eating better, and you opened up the floodgates a little bit. The body was allowed to release a little bit of the oxidation. Now, in both these scenarios, the first scenario and then the second scenario, it doesn't mean toxic heavy metals are detoxing or leaving the body. This is oxidation caused by the body and the toxic heavy metals reactions that are occurring. Pockets of oxidation are being released, but at the same time, the toxic heavy metals are left behind in the same spot in the tissue and the organs. In this third scenario, we're going to talk about being sick, chronically ill, having viral inflammation, pathogens, autoimmune. This is when a person has an Epstein-Barr virus or shingles or herpes simplex 1 or 2 or a combination of them all plus more. And the viruses are actually feeding off of the metals, preferably mercury. And as the pathogens, the viruses, Epstein-Barr, are eating the mercury, wherever that may be, whether it's in the liver or somewhere else in the body, the viruses then release an oxidative runoff. It's one of the reasons the person is sick to begin with. They're virally sick. So if the Epstein-Barr is doing this, the toxic runoff, the neurotoxins, start to create problems with the nervous system, giving them anything from panic attacks to fatigue to tingles and numbness, tremors, shakes, tics, spasms, migraines, and so much more. But a person can just get one symptom too. They can just have fatigue all on its own or brain fog. And if this person has such a high viral load or a low-grade viral infection, either or, the combination of both the viruses and the toxic heavy metals, or just mercury by itself and the viruses, creates the oxidative runoff, the byproduct. And that byproduct builds up and builds up and builds up. So if the person's really sick and they are fighting a virus and they're loaded with mercury and other toxic heavy metals, they're going to get a lot more oxidation. And they can end up with a dark gray tongue or a black tongue. And in this scenario with the black tongue and the viruses and the metals, it still doesn't mean the person's detoxing toxic heavy metals. It doesn't mean they're actually detoxing the metals out of their body, even if they have the dark gray or black tongue. Now, the fourth scenario is when someone's taking really good care of themselves. They found an eating program that's really clean. They've lowered their fats. They may have even eliminated their fats for a short period of time, or they kept their overt fats out of their diet completely for months or even a longer period of time than that. Or they still have overt fats in there, but they're juicing. They're doing a little bit of cleansing. They're keeping the garbage out. They're watching things on labels, making sure they're not eating a lot of MSG. They're keeping the chocolate back. They're not drinking coffee. They're staying away from eggs. They're staying away from dairy. They're keeping the gluten away. They're not eating a lot of toxic grains. They're eating more leafy greens. They're drinking their lemon water in the morning. And they're doing all of this because they're sick or they have symptoms and they've struggled. And then they develop a dark gray spot on their tongue or a black tongue. As they're taking care of themselves, they're doing a little bit of cleansing, a little bit of detoxing, and all the oxidation that was stored up in their tissues, in their liver, different organs, started to come out. Oxidation from toxic heavy metals, oxidation from viruses eating toxic heavy metals. It was stored up and now it's leaving. But this still doesn't mean they're detoxing toxic heavy metals out of their body. Still doesn't mean they're ridding toxic metals out of their body. Those toxic metals stay there. They're just ridding some of the oxidation. And because they're eating so clean and they're taking care of themselves, the oxidation will show up on the tongue, but some of it will also leave the body. What's good about this is even though they're not getting rid of the toxic heavy metals, they're getting rid of a lot of the oxidation that's been built up all the years. Keep in mind on this scenario that other things in the body could be healing. The nervous system could be getting stronger. There's different symptoms that go away. You're moving forward, you're healing, but you still got a black tongue. And that black tongue can come and go. It could be there 1 month and disappear, and then show up another time. So let's go to scenario number 5. Someone's taking really good care of themselves. They found a great way to do it. They're doing their celery juice every single morning, their lemon water. They're carefully eating. They're keeping out the dairy. They're keeping out the toxic MSG. They're keeping out the chocolate, the coffee, the high-fat diet. They're keeping out all the different garbage and junk. They're not cheating. They're keeping fried foods away. They're doing an antiviral protocol. They're doing a 28-day cleanse. They're doing some 369s. They're doing a heavy metal detox cleanse. They're doing the heavy metal detox smoothies. They're doing the medical medium stuff. And they get a black tongue, or they get a dark gray tongue. In this scenario, they're not just getting rid of oxidation. They're not just getting rid of oxidation that was caused by viruses that made them sick and toxic heavy metals and viruses eating the toxic heavy metals. They're getting rid of more. They're getting rid of oxidation, but they're getting rid of their toxic heavy metals as well. If none of these situations or scenarios describe your black tongue or your gray tongue, just know there are a lot of nuances. There are dozens and dozens of different situations and scenarios that determine whether somebody's going to have their dark gray or black tongue. One person can have a larger viral load. Another person can have more mercury versus another toxic heavy metal. And another person could be eating really well for a little while and then they don't. And another person, the toxic heavy metals can be stored in a different area in the body. Some toxic heavy metals and viral loads can be inside the thyroid more. Some can be in the lymphatic system. Some can be in the liver, the spleen, the pancreas. Some can be in the bones. And that determines whether somebody's going to have a black tongue or not too. Someone can have different viruses. Another person can have different metals, different combinations, different alloys. It all matters. And someone could be sick for years and do the right thing and never see a black tongue. And they still could be releasing their toxic heavy metals by doing the right thing, taking care of themselves, doing a heavy metal detox smoothie, the proper one, the one that gets the metals out. And as it's happening, they may never see the oxidation appear on their tongue. All depends on where the viruses are too and where the metals are stored. What is that? Why is it there? I love my tongue. How come the doctors don't care? I swallowed the probiotics. It feels at this point robotic. My mind is confused as I'm chewing my food. All I could think of is why my tongue has become no fun. I'm just feeling down, and I want what's on my tongue to leave town. Answers are everything when it comes to getting rid of this thing. I someday will, and without worrying about another oxidation spill. I can see it and feel it's going away. I'm healing deep within. Every morning is a new beginning and a new day.
Original published medical medium information gets stolen and poached by podcast doctors, social media doctors, influencers, and medical clinics. Medical medium information has never yet been proven wrong by medical science and research. Instead, the opposite. Only proven right and then taken from medical medium published material and used in the conventional and alternative health communities. Medical medium information continually sets the stage for medical science to understand chronic illness better. If you choose to share or use the original, unique content from the Medical Medium podcast, books, or Medical Medium social media, please cite where this information comes from, so others who see and learn of this information have a chance to know where it all originates, to give them an opportunity to heal, so they don't end up losing years of their life searching for answers like so many have before them. The Medical Medium information here on this podcast doesn't come from broken science, interest groups, medical funding with strings attached, botched research, lobbyists, internal kickbacks, persuaded belief systems, private panels of influencers, health field payoffs, trendy traps, or gathered bits and pieces of gimmicky confusion. Because chronic illness is exploding like never before in our modern day history, it takes a greater force than us down here. It takes a helping hand from above. Medical medium information has street cred. It's an organic movement of countless people around the world healing. More healing stories of real people not being paid to tell their life-changing experiences of rising out of the ashes of sickness and entering into the light of full recovery, getting their lives back and finally healing when nothing else in the world of health could move the needle and get them better. The information on this podcast is not man-made. It comes from above, from a higher source. Whatever you believe in, whether God, the universe, the light, or the creator, or if you believe in nothing at all, that we're just floating through space together on this rock. Know that the information you hear on this podcast is separate from all the other noise out there. It comes from a different place, a pure, untampered with, advanced, clean, uncorrupted, original, primary source, a higher source, spirit of compassion.